Now I press the button.
I got a notification that we're going live.
Okay, so then we should be
there
going
we
live.
go.
Are we live?
Hello.
All right. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. Technical difficulties. I should have been able to stream right out of Zoom, which is what we're using to be on this group conference thing, but didn't work that way. So here we are, but we should be going now. Looks like everything is showing up correctly. Can everybody hear us? That would be a great thing to know.
That would be a good thing to know.
Yep.
Live chat, please let us know if you can hear us.
Don't leave us in awful limbo.
Okay, well, Prophet of Zod says no, he can't hear us. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Well, welcome one and all to the Unholy Bitches live stream featuring, what's your snake's name again? I already forgot.
Lucius.
Featuring Lucius. And he's beautiful.
He's so cute.
Look at that beautiful little cutie doll. Oh, he's so cute. I love him. Okay.
And he's now climbing in there because he's like, no, I want to go to sleep because they're nocturnal creatures. So he's like, I want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
That and they don't like actually being out in the open. So
yeah,
if they have a choice.
Bedtime. That's understandable. Mm-hmm. So, Nervardia, why don't you tell the people why we're here? What brought us all together on this fine occasion?
Because right now why we are here is because work hates me and wants me to start at 10 o'clock in the morning. It is now 6 o'clock in the morning for me. So that's why we're here right at this specific time. So, but also it's 3 times 500 subs and 1 times 700 sub celebration.
Yes.
And how did we end up with 3 times 500, Nervardia?
Because YouTube hates me. I got to 502 and then I woke up the next morning and I was back down to 493.
So you hit 500 twice.
Yes. So I got to work extra hard to be happy.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm happy that we are all past 500, and I know you guys are like, well, you are at 700, so, whatever. Like, I really am. I don't know why I have more subscribers than both of you, I will be honest, because I feel like you guys just do better stuff. So I don't know.
You started a couple months before us.
Yeah, I'm just gonna attribute it to time and Faithless Forum. That's it.
Yeah.
So, because we're all equally awesome.
True that. True that. So this is a Q&A special. Woohoo! So we've got some questions. Some of them silly. Some of them real questions. Blue Collar Heathen asks, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
A woodchuck would chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Got it?
Okay.
I would say it would be at least 5 kilos.
I don't know how much that is because I don't use kilos as a form of measurement, so I have no idea how much that is.
We're silly Americans.
I have no idea how much that is.
Suck it. Okay, 5 kilos is, I don't know, because,
Hold on, now I'm gonna look it up. Google, tell me.
The thing is, and I'm gonna say, and the thing that annoys me about the whole metric and imperial system is there's 320 odd million people in America, and yet you guys go by imperial, which is fine. But the fact of the matter is the amount of times I, as part of the other 7 billion other people on the planet, have had to convert from imperial to metric. It's like, guys, just go metric. Just for the love of God, go metric.
I know.
Do you want to know what's really, really sad? I didn't know it was referred to as imperial until like a few days ago.
Really?
Yeah. I knew it was metric, and I had no idea what the American version was called.
By the way, it's 11 pounds. 5 kilos is about 11 pounds. Just so you know.
And
like a little bit over.
So, would the woodchuck chuck that much wood per like a day or like per meal?
I don't.
Chucking.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I don't have an answer.
Maybe it's a like a once off. Maybe it's like 5 kilos every, once in a while.
And if anyone if anyone in the live chat has any questions for us too, you guys can ask us. Just tag someone, one of the three of us preferably.
Yes, preferably one of the three of us. But I have all the questions written down, so preferably tag me. It's also my channel, Sara. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, tag any of us, or all of us, or one of us, and ask your question.
Stuttering Chris says, I hope Nervardia isn't cranky for being up at an ungodly hour. Well, yes, I am.
Every hour is ungodly with us unholy bitches.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Don't you bully your brother, buddy.
You probably should have made the name of the stream Unholy Hour. Q&A.
It is the Unholy Hour with unholy bitches. Woo.
Especially for Nervardia.
Yes. I have a real question from Mr. Bear. I love him. He's great. Was there a light bulb moment for any of you when you knew you didn't believe anymore? And if so, how did it feel? So did any of you guys have a light bulb moment?
I did.
Explain.
Oh, okay. I was hoping to get a snake out of my ass.
A what?
Hang on, he's crawled into my butt.
Okay.
Okay, I was hoping to become confirmed into the Catholic Church, and he sorry.
That's really funny.
Good boy, Lucy.
Anyway, back to the story. I was wanting to become confirmed into the Catholic Church. So I thought I may as well do my research to find out what I'm getting into. So I started reading the Bible, and then I was like, yeah, no, this isn't cool. This guy, this God of ours is a bit of an asshole, really. Like, basically what happened was I started getting really depressed, and then while I was reading the Bible, and then I stopped reading the Bible, and then I got happy, and then I was like, oh, I'm sorry, God, I haven't read the Bible, I'm sorry. Then I started getting depressed, and then I stopped reading the Bible, and then I went, oh, God, I'm sorry, and then I started reading the Bible again, and then I was like, hang on, there seems to be a bit of a pattern, and then I took a step back and I started reading the Bible from a psychoanalytical point of view, and I was like, well, you're an abusive asshole, aren't you? So, like he's the Christian God is a textbook spousal abuser. So yes.
So that was your light bulb moment.
That was my light bulb moment, yeah.
Okay, I think that is a satisfactory answer. Sara, it's your turn with your big doe eyes. Go ahead.
With my what? Your
big doe eyes.
My big doe eyes?
Yes, doe is in a female deer.
Okay.
You are such a pretty person. Like, you're a very beautiful person. Oh. Both inside and out.
What?
Both inside and out.
Oh, thank you. I thought you said something in another language. I'm not the brightest sometimes.
But
most
you're
of the
pretty.
time I'm pretty smart. Oh.
Sorry.
I don't think it really had like one specific light bulb moment. It was definitely a bit of a process. But I do remember when I was going through that whole process and kind of still deciding, I guess, whether I wanted to. And you don't really get to decide if you want to, but I didn't realize that at the time. But I was still deciding if I wanted to keep believing in God. I remember it being in the car and listening to the radio, and the song came on. It's "Unbelievers" by Vampire Weekend, and I was like, they don't make it sound so bad. And I cannot remember the song that well anymore, but I'm pretty sure it was about not believing and stuff, and like religion and stuff. So that's the closest to a light bulb moment I had, but it really was more so a process for me.
Yeah,
What about you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I had kind of a. Okay, let me see the way the question is phrased specifically. I need to see this. For not believing anymore. Yeah, okay. So I Done tight. I did have a light bulb moment, and it was simultaneously devastating and an enormous relief. At the time that the light bulb moment occurred, I had been dating Nathan for a few months, and we had had some tough conversations. And by tough conversations, I mean he asked me about my belief and questioned them in a skeptical way. Not even to the point, not even like to an extreme degree, just like he brought up the problem of evil at some point. We had this conversation where I got really pissed off at him because he said that it was really rapey of God to impregnate Mary without her consent. And I was totally offended by even the idea, but I was more upset and was like just shutting down the conversation because I really didn't have an answer for that because he was totally right. I was like, yeah, like so it made me angry, and there was a lot of cognitive dissonance. And then we were sitting in the car listening to an episode of The Atheist Experience, and it was an episode where Matt Dillahunty and Jamie Boone were hosting, and this woman called in and she was talking about she kind of came in initially just being like, I don't understand how anybody can not believe in a god. And the conversation led to other places, and it eventually kind of was her talking about how she had a hard time grieving for her sister, and she couldn't imagine kind of a world where she wasn't going to see her again. And Matt made the point that religion doesn't give people the tools to properly grieve. They just basically put a Band-Aid on it and say, well, they're not really dead because you're going to see them again, so it's fine. And it's not really fine, but, it'll be fine. And that was one of the big things that had initially kept me from leaving my family home and just going off on my own and doing my own thing and stop being a Jehovah's Witness, was thinking about seeing my dead grandfather again and how I was going to miss out on that if I gave up, and just, gave up the fight against, temptation to live my life and whatever. And it was kind of, that was the moment. It was like, religion does do that. Like, on a fundamental level, that is something harmful that almost every religion does. And I I started crying because I was just like, it was like I'd already kind of known that none of this God stuff made sense. But it was at that moment, like, really facing the fact that religion does fundamentally make things worse for people. And not just religions, like organized religion, but just the beliefs associated with them. They fundamentally made human life worse. And that was the light bulb moment for me. And it made me really kind of upset at first. I was crying, but then at the same time, it was just like, it was all bullshit, and I'm gonna be fine. I'm not gonna die in Armageddon. Okay. So it was like at the same time as it being kind of devastating, it was also like a huge weight off of my shoulders. So.
And it can be really hard to think about ow, get your claws out of my leg. It can be really hard to think about the idea of death, and the idea that I'm gonna die isn't as bothersome. Like, I don't like the idea, but I won't know any better because I'll be dead.
Right.
The idea, though, that my mom was gonna die like 30 years before me, probably, and I won't ever see her again, that is a lot harder. And I've never had to deal with death on a personal level. I've never been close to anyone who's died. I've known people who have died, but never been close to them,
Mm-hmm.
So I just imagine I'm going to have a really hard time with it when I do have someone close to me die, because it's not like I'm going to get through my whole life without having that unfortunate experience.
Yeah, that's unfortunately part of human existence. But when you have religions that basically sell people on the idea that it's not a part of human life, really, you don't have to cope with it because it's all a bunch of bullshit and there's another place where everybody goes and you'll see them again and blah blah blah. Like, it's definitely a band-aid solution to a broken arm problem, and that requires actual healing and therapy, and not just they're not really gone. That's not, it makes people feel better, but it doesn't actually heal them at all. So
I saw that episode and it was heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Especially when she said her sister committed suicide.
Yeah.
And her whole life she's been told that her sister's burning in hell because she committed suicide. Like, that's just cruel.
Yeah, that's super fucked up. I can't even imagine. And that was another selling point that I had as a Jehovah's Witness, was that we didn't believe in hell. So basically anybody who was horrified and disgusted and was hurt by this idea of hell could be sold on another idea from another religion that was like, obviously hell is a super evil concept. Our God just does this and this, But, all right. Pirate Kitty just came into the chat, so I thought that I would continue with her question. Pancakes or waffles, or maybe French toast? Pick.
Oh, man. Now I'm hungry and I don't want the French fries anymore.
Oh, I'd have to say pancakes, because there's not terribly good waffles in Australia, and they haven't really had much to do with French toast either. That's my thing.
Yeah, French toast is too rich for me. Like, it's too much. Like, I can't eat a whole piece of French toast. It's too much stuff. I like waffles as a concept, but I feel like pancakes are more versatile. Like, I can't really imagine, you can't have chunky stuff in your waffles, really. So if you wanted to do applesauce and little apple chunks and do this and that, you really couldn't with waffles. So I'm gonna go pancakes also.
I like all of them. I think French toast is my favorite. I don't know. It depends on the day. But the one problem I have with all of them is the syrup, because they're all best with syrup, but syrup is sticky and always gets in my hair somehow. Even if I have my hair up, it somehow gets in my hair.
That's...
I don't
have that problem.
I'm a mess of a person. I bet if I cut my hair as short as yours, I would still somehow get syrup in my hair.
Donna does make a good point, though. Pancake and waffle stuffed French toast.
I'm going to gain 10 pounds from that point.
I'm just doing that right now just by reading that sentence.
Oh, man, that sounds amazing. So, Paraskeptic, who you guys both know is my fiance Nathan, in the chat asked me what kind of drums are those, because a lot of people in the comments will ask me what kind of drums I have, and they're his drums, they're not mine. So to clarify for anybody watching, those are my fiance's drums, they're not mine, I don't know anything about them, and he's an ass for asking that question again. But he did have a real question, which is, what's the best thing about being out of your respective former religions?
That's a good question. Who wants to start?
I started the last one.
Okay, I'll start. I think the best thing about being out of my former religion is letting go of the judgment and the hate and the mental gymnastics that was required. It's surprisingly easier in some ways. It's a lot harder in other ways, but not having to look at people living a different life and being like, well, I don't hate you, I just hate your sin, and having to go about the mental gymnastics of that nonsense. It's better to just look at people as people, you know?
That's a crazy thought. Like, what the hell are you thinking?
People?
People are people? What?
Yeah, I know. I found it surprising too.
I think that I would say, specifically for the Jehovah's Witness religion, one of the best things about being out of it is that it's not consuming my whole life. Like, I really could not make plans with people most of the time because there's always meetings and studying and preaching, and it's like every day it takes up at least some of your time, like stuff specifically for Jehovah's Witnesses. So just having it was crazy when I first moved out of my house and I realized that I'd gone like a whole week without going preaching or going to any meetings or reading any Watchtower literature or anything. I was just like, oh my God, I have like time for myself. It's amazing. So that would probably be just like off the top of my head, the best part for me.
Well, I got out of the religion when I was 15, so it's sort of not like, that's been quite a while ago. But the thing for me, I would say it's the lack of constant guilt and the lack of constant guilt and the lack of needing to watch yourself, the lack of having to praise God, because I don't think that's ever really sat well with me to praise God all the time. Because I remember when I was even like 6 or 7 years old, I remember thinking to myself, this is stupid. So yeah, I would say it's the lack of having to be guilty about things all the time. And yeah, I was too young to be in the hating every single person who doesn't agree with me. I wasn't, by the time I got out. There was, and also the area that I lived in was very open and very accepting. So, homophobia, that wasn't too big of a deal where, like in the culture where I lived. So, yeah. But that was probably the main one, was the lack of guilt.
I can remember. Sorry.
Oh no, you go.
I can remember growing up, some of the things that are just so normal and natural and everyone's going to experience made me feel guilty. Like the first time I ever felt horny, I was guilty as hell because I wasn't married. And like having, those kinds of dreams made me feel guilty. And so basically anything sexual.
Yeah. Guilt is probably like a big one for me too. I'd probably at least put that second.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this, what the really sad thing is? I still occasionally get pangs of feeling a little bit guilty about sex. Very, very rarely, and I haven't felt that in ages, but I still get a little bit of, I am a bit guilty or a bit shameful of having sex. So even though, as I said, I've been out for longer than I've been in, I still get that guilt that for sexual impropriety. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's not a common thing anymore, thankfully. But yeah. Is there another person in the chat that's asked a question, or can I ask one?
You can ask one. There's I have a few more written down, but go for it.
do either of you guys have any fear of hell still? Are you guys still afraid of hell and going to hell? Or Armageddon?
Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses don't have hell, but we definitely have Armageddon, which is like, yeah, God doesn't torture you forever, but he will send an angel to personally, like, kill you with a fireball or, like, a flaming arrow or some shit. Like,
well, that's nice.
Yeah, like, dying in the apocalypse, being personally killed by God's heavenly army, I feel like is probably bad enough. Like, it's not eternal torment in hell forever, but I feel like that's bad enough. And there's also the unfortunate, like, the knowledge that eventually your family will forget about you, because there's something about the former things have passed away or something like that. Like, basically, the idea is eventually all the Jehovah's Witnesses living in paradise are going to forget about all the evil they left behind after some time. So eventually my family will just forget I ever existed, basically. And obviously I won't have the chance to see my family that has died again. So all of that was definitely something that scared me. And honestly, I don't really have any fear of that anymore. Like, that was almost one of the first things to go, like I said. Like, one of the first thoughts that I had when I stopped believing was just like, oh my god, Armageddon's bullshit. I'm gonna live. Like, I can just live. I'm not gonna die. And I haven't really gone back on that. Like, there are a lot of people who leave Jehovah's Witnesses and they, like, whenever, like I know that with the Amazon being on fire, there was some people in, like, the ex-Jehovah's Witness Facebook groups I'm in that were like, okay, you guys, I know that it's all bullshit, but, like, I'm kind of freaking out. Like, is Armageddon gonna happen right now? Like anytime something major happens, it's like a trigger. It's like, is Armageddon about to happen? You know, but I haven't really had that, and I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, that was one of the first things to go for me, and I haven't really had it come up again. So
my fear was never necessarily of hell, because when I believed in hell, I was completely sure I was going to heaven. My fear was always, weirdly enough, of, like, the concept of eternity. Like, even in heaven, for some reason, when I was a kid, I was just super afraid that when I got to heaven, I'd get bored and just be bored for an eternity, because I couldn't imagine being entertained for an eternity. So that was my fear. And that's been alleviated a bit with the idea that you can't really be bored if you're dead.
Yeah. Well, actually, interestingly enough, Terry Pratchett, actually, he wrote a story where there is, like, a hell, and people realized that, you know, after a while they realized, I have no body, so I'm not actually being tormented because I can't physically feel pain. So everyone was having a great time being tortured. And then someone came in and started doing things like changing everything up to make sure everything's safe. And they all had to read really boring stuff, and actually hell turned into hell because everyone was really, really bored. So yeah, it's hilarious. I think it was Eric. I think that was the book, Eric.
Boredom is its own kind of personal hell.
That's true.
The ADHD in that sentence is strong.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah.
For me, no, I'm not really all that afraid of hell. I mean, but sometimes you can, I can go, oh, what if I am wrong? It's really, really weird, but I don't have too much issues when it comes to believing that I'm going to go to hell. But sometimes I do think it, and I don't know why. I think out of the three of us, I've been out for the longest. And there is still that occasional niggle of, oh, what if I'm going to go to hell? And then I realize, fuck him.
Yeah.
I'm a good person. And if you're going to send me to hell because I don't believe in you, you're fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of the conclusion I have had because sometimes I do think about Armageddon, not like, oh my god, I'm gonna die in Armageddon, but just like, they really think that's gonna happen. And I just I just keep coming back to like, if God really wants to kill me in Armageddon, fuck that guy, I guess. But, I guess that's his prerogative. But I'm definitely not going to be a Jehovah's Witness again either way, so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of questions for you, Mero. From Godless Engineer said, I've heard that Australians live in a constant state of upside down, being that they're on the bottom of the globe. My question is, how does it feel to be part spider and cling to the ceiling? Also, do you stick to the ceiling if you come to the northern hemisphere?
Well, there's an issue with that one, is that the Earth is flat and Australia doesn't exist.
Right.
So you've been told the wrong thing, unfortunately.
That was just a rumor.
Yeah. So, in regards to sticking to the ceiling, occasionally I've done it. It's not a lot of fun when gravity, that also doesn't exist, decides to change its orientation. I mean, a few times I've had to face plant the floor. So yes, there's that issue there as well. What was the second half to that question? Well, if I go to the northern hemisphere, well, after I figure out how to do wormhole technology, if I want to travel to actually a real dimension, they won't let us pay. We have to figure it out ourselves, which is why every single Australian you meet is really, really intelligent in person. I haven't quite figured that one out yet, but I will let you know when I get there.
Maybe you can figure it out in time to be at Faithless Forum next year.
I really hope so. I really hope so.
I will kill you both if you're not at Faithless Forum. No excuses.
I will try my best. Remember last time we talked about this, I mentioned something about how it might be hard to afford it given that Connor had just lost his job. Well, he just got another job, so, we can start saving for these things. I don't have to put all my money towards bills anymore. A little bit extra.
Good shit.
I'm still going to be at uni during April next year.
Yeah.
So could be possible the year after though. It gives me an extra year to save up as well.
I'm still going to be in college, but my plan is that if I have to miss a class, I'm just going to talk to the professor at the beginning of the semester. Like, hey, just so you know.
Yeah, for you guys, you can just kind of go over for the weekend. For me, I have to travel across dimensions, and it's if I'm going to spend that time to go over there, I probably want to stay at least for a month to wander around and have a look at the northern hemisphere and try really, really hard not to be stuck to the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, understandable. Another question specifically for Mero. Is it true that some Australian animals are so dangerous, even looking at them in pictures could seriously hurt you? That was for Hopscotch.
Oh, God, yes. There's this creature that the very name strikes fear into our hearts, and it's called the drop bear. And what that is a bear that lives in the eucalypts, and it sees you, and it just goes, drops on top of you.
Are you talking about koalas?
No, I'm talking about drop bears. So, yeah, just drop bears. Terrifying.
Okay.
I'm going to Google drop bears.
It's going to be koalas. I promise you it's going to be koalas.
No. Drop bear.
Okay, I have left
it's a koala, but scarier looking.
So it's just like the scariest version of a koala, but still just a koala.
That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Some of the pictures are still cute.
All right, so it's just a koala. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Okay, I have two serious questions and one that's technically not serious, but still may cause some division and discussion. So,
Mm-hmm.
Do we want one of the serious ones or one of the slightly less serious ones?
Let's do the serious ones, and then we'll um, break the tension or whatever with the less serious ones.
Okay. All right. Prophet of Zod asked, "How long / how much did you doubt before leaving religion?"
That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
Yes, thank you, Prophet of Zod, because now we're all going to have to think a little bit.
I vote Sara goes first.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. What was it? How long
or how much did you doubt before leaving religion?
By the time I was like fully indoctrinated and stuff, because there were times here and there throughout my childhood where I was like, is this real or something grown-ups make up? And then I was like, oh, this is real. So excluding that, it was a few months because the whole story involves meeting a Mormon boy and thinking I was in love and then I was going to convert to his religion, and by the time the relationship was over, I was pretty much completely out. There was, if any part of me still believed in God, it was very, very tiny. And the whole relationship, thus that whole story, start to finish, only lasted about 5 or 6 months. So compared to most, that's probably a lot less. But I really did go pretty much straight from, I'm completely sure that God is real and that he loves me and that Jesus died for my sins, to that is all bullshit and it doesn't even make any sense in less than 6 months.
Wow. Well,
which was rough.
That's impressive. What was the beginnings of the doubt? Like, what was the first question? Or maybe that's another question that we should put a bit later. I don't know. Sorry.
It's okay. You're tired, Mero.
Maybe we'll make that a separate question.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that.
What was the question?
How long / how much did you doubt before leaving religion?
For me, it was probably, my entire life, actually. As I said, I was 15 when I had that light bulb moment, but I was questioning and thinking to myself very clearly, remember being very embarrassed about learning about scripture in school, because our government pays for scripture to be taught in public schools. Not okay with that. But we were doing scripture at school, and I remember so clearly going, this is so stupid. I remember learning about Jonah and the whale, and I really liked that story, but I knew that did not happen.
It's like, nice story, total bullshit.
Yeah. And I also remember thinking to myself, I didn't quite think that Noah's Ark was a thing. Like, I knew deep down inside they didn't make any sense. And I remember being really, really embarrassed to be sitting in class learning about scripture as a very, very, very young kid. So I think I had that pretty much my entire life. And it wasn't until, as I said, I read the Bible was when I was like, for my own mental health, I'm not even going to believe in God because fuck God. So that was probably it.
Yeah, so pretty much your whole childhood, basically.
My whole life, yeah.
I literally I didn't do any of the questioning myself. I got questioned and then was forced to think about what I believed critically. in a way that I never had before. Like, because when I was in the religion, when I was actively surrounded by people who shared the same beliefs as me and I was constantly being indoctrinated, it was like if a question arose that had seemed kind of funny, I just was like, somebody's probably answered that. And it's not important. Like it's not a big deal that I don't think that I can't find a satisfying answer to this, because someone has. Somebody has. There's an apologetic for this. It's fine. And I just brushed them to the side. I didn't think too much. When I had doubts, I did not think about them at all. I didn't think about those questions. And even when I was out, I avoided I acted like it's okay to talk about religion because I don't have anything to, I don't have skin in the game anymore, because even if I believe it, I'm not doing it. Um, but those were still very challenging conversations for me, and it was like the cognitive dissonance was right at its breaking point, where it was just like, this shit doesn't make sense. You just have to say it. So I wasn't really actively doubting or questioning pretty much right up until I had that light bulb moment. It was like all those doubts had already been raised and I was just ignoring them until I couldn't ignore them, and in that moment it was just gone. But yeah, I guess I if you want to count like the time between when I left home and when basically people were telling me like, hey, Rachel, it's totally okay to be like yourself and do what you're doing. You're living a normal life. And I was like, it feels like a normal life, but I'm supposed to believe it's not. So there were still those questions. So I guess basically like the 6 to 9 months maybe between, probably like 6 months, maybe like 6 months. I'm going to say 6 months. Sounds about right. After I left home and between that experience is, yeah. That's it.
It can be such a hard process, and I imagine it must have been really, really difficult for you, because there's so much at stake when you know you're going to get shunned and everything.
Yeah. Well, I left home still being a believer. I was physically out of the religion, but I was mentally still in it. So it was like I was carrying even more baggage with me when I was in the religion, because at least then I could like fool myself into like, maybe God's accepting me. Maybe I'm doing enough, even though I'm doing all of this other stuff on the side and I'm thinking and feeling all these other things. Maybe I'm doing enough that I'll be forgiven and I'll get through Armageddon, whatever. But once I was out, I was just like, yeah, I'm fucked. But I guess that's the way it is, because I can't do that shit anymore. So it was actually more of a relief once the further I got from the Jehovah's Witness religion, the more weight was off my shoulders. So, yeah.
So the question I asked earlier was something along the lines of, what was your first doubt? What was the first thing that made you doubt? What was the first question that made you doubt? I think that was the question that I asked. I can't remember. Can someone rewind?
That was it. That was it. I'm pretty sure. Something along those lines. Like, what was the first thing that really made you doubt? I don't remember what it was exactly. It was probably something to... actually, you know what? I do remember what it was. I saw this documentary about homosexuality in the animal kingdom, and I was, like, enjoying it, but at the same time, I was like, that's some bullshit. They can do that. Why can't I do that? That's some bullshit. So that was probably my first doubt. But like I said, I wasn't thinking about it any deeper than just like, that's interesting. But the doubt was there. I just was ignoring it as much as I could.
Mine was asking the Mormon missionaries who were giving me lessons. I asked them, if God doesn't give you more than you can handle, then how come suicide exists? And they said that it's because God didn't give them more than they could handle. They just chose not to handle it. And that was so disrespectful and so horrible Yeah, I can see the anger in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the first thing that really made me go like, oh, that's not, no. And I asked the question many more times. I asked other, like, I had beforehand asked, I think, my youth pastor, and he didn't give me a satisfying answer. And, like, I'd asked a few times and never got a satisfying answer, but that was the time that made me think, oh, maybe there's not a good answer to this. And if that's the case, maybe there's not a good answer to a lot of these questions. And it was the first thing that made me really start to actually question things.
Yeah, the whole God never gives you more than you can handle concept in Christianity has been such a huge source of guilt for me. Because I always felt like it was entirely my fault if I was failing to do something that God wanted me to do. Like, everything was totally my fault, and I totally could do better. I knew that I could, but I just was failing. I was weak. I blah, blah, blah. But yeah, that was a huge source of guilt for me.
With the exception of when I was a little kid going, this doesn't make sense. When I was at started high school, I had a friend who invited me to go to a youth thing every, I think it was Friday or Thursday or something. And we were learning about this story about brother and sister. They were going out dingo baiting. So dingo is a type of native dog in Australia. And they were out going dingo baiting, and they were using...
Wait. What's dingo baiting?
So dingoes are a wild dog in Australia. So people who live on the farm would go and put traps down for the dingoes, which I think that's illegal now because dingoes are a native species, because they are, and we are, and they're actually, I don't think a purebred dingo exists anymore. There's no, they've all interbred with introduced dogs.
So what were they doing to them when they caught him?
They're poisoning them.
Oh.
Yeah. So this happened ages and ages ago. So they were out dingo baiting to stop them from attacking the sheep and the cows. And so they were baiting them with poisoned golden syrup. And
okay, now I have another question. What's golden syrup?
It's really sweet, has a bit of like a metallic flavor to it. It's really thick. I think the closest you could probably have is maple syrup over there. So I think it's made from molasses.
Okay.
Yeah. I think. I could be wrong.
We're not going to get anywhere with the story if you keep using Australia-specific things.
I can't help it. It's the story.
Sorry.
Anyway, so they were coming back on their horses, and the brother was like, "Oh, there's some golden syrup," and went to lick it off the back of his hand, and his sister was like, "Don't do that, you'll die." And they used that story to say that God, you've always got to be on the lookout for the devil, because God is always going to try and get you. Like, the devil is always going to try and get you, and you've got to make sure that you're going to be on the lookout and have your guard up against the devil. And I remember I was thinking, so you're saying that we will die if we don't have our guard up for even half a second? I mean, don't you think God, being all-powerful, can give you even such a little bit of a wriggle room to be able to, I will protect you in the small times that you have failed, because you're not perfect. So I, as a perfect being, should
make allowances.
Yeah, but no. No, that I think that was one of the major, doubts that really crept in. Ironically, because they were talking about about how God, you should keep your guard up against the devil, and then the devil is doubt, and that was a bit of an interesting. That's a bit of an interesting story, I think.
That is an interesting story.
Yeah, that and all of the people who I knew were Christian turned out to be real assholes. A lot of my Christian friends actually turned out to be backstabbing bastards who were like, I can't do anything wrong because I'm Christian.
Yeah, those people.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Okay, I'm gonna give Nathan priority in the questions because he's my fiance. So he said, at Nervardia, why do you think Vegemite is only popular in Australia?
We have no taste buds.
All right, moving on.
What is it?
Vegemite. It's amazing. It's delicious.
I've heard it's disgusting.
It's not. It's amazing.
Well,
it's beautiful. You need to. I'm bringing it. If I come to Faithless Ballroom,
if you come to Faithless Ballroom, you have to bring some Vegemite.
Absolutely, and golden syrup.
Okay, but not the poisoned one, right?
No. Okay. And also, what else? Tim Tams. I'll bring you some Tim Tams and mint slices.
Okay, I trust you.
She's just gonna shower us with gifts.
They're all gonna be Australian.
You're gonna be,
and you can get these little koalas that are about that big, that you stick to. Like,
they're not real koalas. I was like, you're gonna smuggle some koalas out of fucking Australia for us?
Yes.
Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. Stuttering Chris wants to know who of us is the funniest. I will let each of you make your case individually. Nervardia?
I'm just amazing. We all know that you guys have me on for the entertainment value. This is just about it. I mean, come on, I'm hilarious.
No, it's because you look like Daisy Ridley. That's the only reason.
That too. Okay, so I don't know. I can't explain why. It's just me. It's just me. I can't explain why primarily because I'm still asleep.
That's fair. That's fair. Sara.
Don't hate me, but I actually agree that Meredith is the funniest.
I also agree that Meredith is the funniest. So there you go. It is unanimous. She just is. It's the Australian brand of humor. That's it.
Yeah. We don't get that around here.
Like, both of us have catchphrases at the ends of our videos that are, like, actually about what our videos are about. And she's just like, don't give yourself the raw prawn. And it's like, okay. She's definitely the funniest.
Yeah.
Doorknobhead says laughing at your own jokes does not mean that you are the funniest.
Well, other people also laugh at her jokes, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, she is validated in laughing at her jokes. All right, I have only one more question, so if anybody in the chat has more questions, please type them in now so we won't run out of questions after I ask this one. Pippa Bramley wants to know, what do each of you find triggering now that you are free from your faiths? Doesn't have to be a fear related to the faith, just any trigger due to having had faith in the past.
Oh, I have one. I'm raising my hand like I'm still in class. I'm sorry.
You don't have to be sorry.
It drives me absolutely crazy when people tell me that they subscribe to whatever belief system, that they're Mormon or that they're Christian or that's Jewish or whatever, because that's how they were raised. As if they are incapable of thinking on their own and deciding for themselves what they're going to believe. Mm-hmm. They just automatically believe what they were told to. That drives me nuts.
And it's like they're acknowledging that it's only because they were raised to believe that way that they believe that way now.
And then it's taken as such a socially acceptable thing. Like everywhere else in life, we should be trying to know what's right. But when it comes to religion, just leave people alone and let them believe what they were told to believe, even if it's wrong. It doesn't make sense to me. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, that's pretty annoying. I'm trying to think if I even do have anything like this. Like, I know that I do, but I can't think of what they are now, because I guess I need to eat or something. My brain is dead.
Maybe Nathan can think of one for you.
Yeah, Nathan, if you can think of anything that you know triggers me and is related to my former faith, put it in the chat and I'll expound on that point, because I can't remember right now.
The one that always gets me pissed is I've got like 2 or 3 actually, and they're all interrelated. First of all, it's the indoctrination of children. That just so baptisms get me really angry. I actually believe deep that the most evil thing that religion does is indoctrinate children. Because that is the root of so many things. If we didn't indoctrinate children, priests would not have gotten away with all the sexual abuse. Because because that indoctrination follows people up through their up into adulthood. So I get really, really shitty about indoctrination of children. And also I get really, really shitty about bringing in your religion into laws like abortion, gay marriage, honor killings. Honor killings in some areas of the world are still legal. Like,
what?
Yeah, they're still legal, or if not legal, there's a slap on the wrist. There's a friend of mine told me that they had someone contact them and say, I would love to be able to do what you do, but I can't, because the other day a woman was stoned to death in my village in India because she had been accused of having sex. Like,
oh my God.
I know. And it's all, especially, like, I know I've done a couple of videos on Israel Folau, and I keep going back to him because this is so important, and it's symbolic of the shit that how powerful religion is in our countries. Because Israel Folau got fired because he was putting up homophobic, awful shit up on his Instagram posts, and he got fired for breaching his contract. And he's come back and said, oh, well, because of that, because I'm just expressing my freedom, therefore this is discrimination. And it's not bloody discrimination. You can express your religion. We're not stopping you from doing that, but your freedom of religion does not come with freedom of consequences. You cannot put the this is my religion, while discriminating against other people. And yeah, it's how pervasive religion is into our laws. And also another one that really pisses me off is that churches don't get taxed.
Yeah.
That's another thing that really, it's the double standard. I think it's probably the thing that really triggers me. It's that double standard.
The Jehovah's Witnesses are even worse with that, because at least a lot of churches actually do legitimate charity work. Jehovah's Witnesses literally don't do any community outreach except for preaching to people, which is, they consider that community outreach, but they literally have no reason to have tax exempt status because they don't do shit for other people. They literally don't have anything where they'll have relief efforts when there's like a natural disaster, but they are only mainly doing it for their own people who are affected by those natural disasters. That's it. So they're really not helping anybody but themselves. They should absolutely not have tax exempt status. Like, if any church shouldn't, it's definitely the ones that aren't doing any charity work at all. Obviously. Like,
in regards to your first point, Miro, the indoctrination one, one of my professors brought up that she had a student who had, I can't remember what her point was, something about like communication or something, I don't know. But she had a student who had never gone to public school because his parents were religious and they wanted to make sure that he stayed in that religion and whatnot. And the way she brushed over it, like it was no big deal, like it's perfectly normal and there's nothing wrong with that, that got to me. That's not isolating your kid like that, keeping them away from anyone with a different, I mean, for one thing, if you need to do that to make sure that they believe your faith, maybe you need to start thinking about what's wrong with your faith.
Exactly.
There's so much wrong with it.
Yeah. I was homeschooled. I wasn't necessarily, like, it was at least partially religiously motivated, but my mom is kind of into some new agey stuff, so it's just kind of like inevitable that she would also be like, the public school won't be good enough for my children. So, and granted, United States public school system is shit, so but she's also not a qualified teacher, so she's not necessarily going to do any better. So but it was at least partly religiously motivated, I do know that. But it wasn't complete isolation completely to keep me from there were other reasons, but yeah, that's childhood indoctrination is definitely one of those things that does really grinds my gears. It grinds my gears.
Kids deserve better.
Did you think of what triggers you, Rachel?
I remember something that triggered me when I was religious, and even now still kind of does. The fact that there are people who will follow a certain religion, not necessarily because the beliefs make the most sense, but because they are the most comforting, and that they can openly admit that that's why they follow a religion. That, to me, is like crazy town. And it always has been. Even when I was a witness, you know, they do all this like studying of their publications and stuff like that to convince you that this is not just, you know, the best way of life or whatever, but that it is in fact true. And truth has always been something that is very important to me. I thought that I had the truth, and when I realized I didn't, I was like, okay, well then I don't believe that anymore. And that's always been something that's important to me. So when I hear somebody be like, oh, the idea of reincarnation, I just like, it's just nice. I really like it. And I'm like, that's why you believe it? Because it sounds nice? Really? Like, I don't know what to do with that. Like, first of all, it only sounds nice if you don't think about it that hard. Second of all, that doesn't make it true. Like, I don't even know how to talk to somebody who thinks that way, because it's like, clearly our priorities are in two different places, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to convince you to prioritize truth over things that sound nice, because clearly we're just not thinking about this in the same way for the same reasons at all. But that always just makes me go like, what? You know, like something having a nice effect on you or something sounding nice to you does not make it true. So, yeah. A question from Griffin, and I'm gonna guess that we all have the same answer about this, but I will find out. Are you guys superstitious? Like freaked out walking under ladders, etc.?
Sometimes a little bit as a sort of leftover thing. Like, I know it's illogical and I don't actually believe it, but it was such a big part of my childhood, especially being from New England, that it's hard to let go of. Like, I still lift my feet when I'm going over railroad tracks in the car, because apparently if you don't, it's bad luck. And it's just such a habit now that, not in the sense that I actually believe it, but in the sense that there are some habits that I still have that were formed because of superstition.
I would probably say the same thing. When I was interested in witchcraft, and I still do it to today, and I know it does nothing, but I still like it purely because I like the ritual in it, is that when I see the full moon, which obviously never happens because I just forget about it, you're supposed to kiss the back of these fingers, 3 times to greet the moon, and it does nothing. But I kind of like that. There's, and certain things like I've got a couple of money trees, like those jade trees, and I've got them near my door. They do nothing. I know that, but if it does, I'm one of those. I admit it does nothing. I recognize it does nothing, but purely because I like the ritual side of things, I might do it. But there is actually a really good reason why crossing underneath a ladder is bad luck. Is because if somebody's up there and you knock the ladder or they knock something, you can get hurt. So that's actually why, that's the story of why the ladder, walking under a ladder is bad luck.
It's not bad luck, it's just dangerous. So
exactly. And that's also the same with putting your umbrella up inside. When umbrellas start, it's to stop things from being knocked over and broken. So they said if you put your umbrella up inside, it'll make it rain, is actually because people, when they put their umbrella up, that knock things over and break it. So sometimes there's this reason why superstitions have happened.
That is interesting.
Is that the answer you were expecting from us?
It wasn't. I was expecting a hard no.
I thought that might be the case.
But I guess, again, this is part of my faith. I never considered myself superstitious, and I thought people who were dumb. Because Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in luck, and they're very adamantly anti the concepts of luck and stuff like that. So when it comes to stuff like stepping on a crack or breaking mirrors, walking under ladders, stuff like that, I've just never bought into it. But I also realized that Jehovah's Witnesses are superstitious, just in a completely different way, with like demons and stuff. Like they're superstitious about very specific things that only exist as superstitions within their own culture. Like buying things at yard sales, you might buy something that's demon possessed because you don't know what other people are getting up to in their houses. So you need to be careful at yard sales and garage sales because you might buy a demon possessed desk. My aunt had a story about buying a possessed piece of furniture and burning it. Yes, and they have this weird superstition about Smurfs specifically. And I don't know how to explain how that came about, but there's a very specific Jehovah's Witness superstition subculture about Smurfs. And I don't even have an explanation for that. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that video by Telltale. So.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember it, and I can't. I feel like there was something about a little boy watching Smurfs or something.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
They basically think they're little demons. Basically,
Well, they are kind of scary.
Yeah.
They're about that big and blue with crazy hair. And...
Yeah, there were people who said that about troll dolls. There are people who said that about Pokemon. I mean, basically anything that has any magical elements might just make you possessed.
Anything that made the 90s fun is apparently evil.
Yeah, pretty much everything that made the 90s fun.
Tarzos.
What?
Tarzos? Did you guys have Tarzos? They're little discs about that big. They were plastic little discs, and you stack them, and then you throw a chunky Tarzo on the top and things, and they go flying. Maybe just Australia.
Maybe that was Australian 90s specifically, but that sounds like some 90s shit. I just didn't have it.
Yeah, and to be fair, we weren't alive in the 90s for very long. I got here 5 years before 2000 hit. And you're younger than me, ex-girl baby, so...
Wait, what did you say?
I said I got here 5 years before the year 2000, which is a fancy way of saying 95. And I know you're younger than me, right?
Yeah, I was born in 98, so I got the tail end of the 90s. I got the part of the 90s that was basically just the early 2000s, but like still painted in 90s colors, you know? Like
Yeah.
I still understand most of that 90s stuff, like gel pens and those bracelets that when you take them off and lay them down, they look like little animals, stuff like
Oh, I
that.
love those.
I collected those. Like that's all stuff that I was exposed to, but not like a lot, I guess. I don't know.
Did you get like hair mascara? Did you get that?
No, because I had the same hairstyle every single day because my white mother didn't really know what to do with black hair, so she just braided it back in 2 braids every day for my entire childhood. Plus, I wasn't allowed to color my hair. Plus, Jehovah's Witnesses don't color their hair with crazy colors. That's craziness.
Crazy, yeah.
My mother was super against us dyeing our hair. I'm the only one who's done it, and she's, probably used to it, but not happy about it.
Well, we had hair mascara, which is just like mascara for your face.
I've seen it. I just wasn't allowed to have it.
Or hair chalk as well as another one.
That one was cool.
I've heard of all these things. I just wasn't allowed to have them. So.
Same.
Well, that is the last of the questions, unless there are any. What? No.
No, Paul. He said, was red highlights... Hang on, what did he say? Something about red highlights.
Red highlights or red accents?
Was red accent part of the wardrobe coordination? First of all, this is pink. It's just showing up red on camera. So, no.
I was trying to find a warm jacket that also didn't make a lot of noise in my wardrobe. So, it turned out to be this one.
This is how my hair looks every day.
Yeah, Sarah's hair's been like that for a while, so we can't really say that it was on purpose.
Yeah, my hair was definitely an accident. Well, the haircut was, and then the dye was just to make me feel better.
And it's pretty.
It is pretty.
Thank you. I like it. I might cut it a couple inches shorter, but other than that, I like it.
Well, good. I like it. Well, that appears to be it for this video, because I don't see any more questions besides that, unless anybody has any last minute ones.
And I see some more love from Paul. I love all the hearts, Paul.
Thank you, Paulogia.
Oh, he's gorgeous. Hang on. Give me a moment. Does anybody else want to see Lucius? Or
yeah, can we see him again?
What? See him again? Hang on, let me strip. Actually, that's really what you guys want me to do.
That is something else I want from you, correct?
Oh, shit. Oh, crab. Ow.
What'd you do? What did you do?
My foot just started cramping.
Oh.
Oh, God. Why am I awake?
But speaking of which, how much longer can you spare time before you need to get ready for work?
I have to leave at 9:15.
Okay.
And that's like a little bit under 2 hours away.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Look at that beautiful Snako. So cute. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
So bad.
Nathan, if you're still watching this, I do still want to get a ball python. It's still going to happen.
Should. They're such good. Yeah.
Once I move into a house with space for a snake container, away from my cats.
Yeah, that's true. So, there are now all of a sudden there's a few questions.
But they're all about Lucius.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
He did shed. He shed about a week and a half ago. He is a children's python, which is a python named after a bloke called Children. Not that it's good for children, but it is actually a good pet for children because they're pretty easy to look after. How often does he shed by Unholy, Sarah? Sarah, you could you just said that.
I could have, but this one was more fun.
Oh, fair enough. he sheds about once a month at the moment.
Oh my goodness! He's saying hi to the camera! Oh my goodness, that is so dang cute! Oh my goodness.
He he sheds about once a month, but he shouldn't be shedding that quickly but he's growing really, really freaking quickly, which is probably why he likes to eat me.
Oh,
he's probably like always hungry if he's growing that fast.
Oh, he is. Why do you think I quite often put photos of my hand being consumed? You can't go over there, mate, because it's a touch screen and you're going to like close things.
I want to hold him.
Me too. Are you going to bring him with you when you come and visit us at Faithless Forum?
I really wish I could, but unfortunately it's going to be a very interesting conversation with customs, so I don't think I will.
Yeah, that's
just
fair.
Claim he's an accessory. Wear him like a bracelet and claim he's an accessory. It's just a part of your outfit for the day.
Fair enough. I could claim him as my what's it called? My companion animal.
Yeah, helps with your anxiety or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want me on this plane without the snake. I promise you. I'll get fucking crazy.
Inquisitive.
That's a great thing to say.
Inquisitive Quandary says something about snakes on the plane.
Yeah. Apologia, we're probably not all going to be there because Nervardia is going to be at school still next year during Faithless Forum, and Unholy Sara isn't sure yet, but we're thinking about doing it.
I'm going to try.
If you need a GoFundMe, we'll GoFund you.
I'll probably end up needing to do a GoFundMe, but I'll worry about that a little closer to time.
Yeah, and I, as a server, me and my fiance both put all of our coins in a jar, and that's how we afforded to go to Faithless Forum last year. Is actually we saved up coins for a year, and we had like 500 some bucks. So we're at 200 something now. So by the time Faithless Forum rolls back around, we should have enough saved up.
We've been saving coins since December, and we only have like $60.
Like I said, I'm a barista and a server, so I get coins a lot as tips. So, yeah. That's the only... Otherwise, I wouldn't have that much coins, but I just happen to with that particular job. So, yeah. All right.
And Pirate Kitty, I already have her to sneak discovery. She is gorgeous. And also, I can't remember who else said. I use tongs. Pirate Kitty, I use tongs because
contacts are killing me.
Pardon?
My contacts are killing me. I'm sorry.
That's all right. We should probably go then.
Yeah. Apologia says I'm buying him a drink at Faithless Forum. I'll buy you and Shannon a drink if I still have any money left over after we actually get to Faithless Forum, Paul.
I'll tell you what. You buy Apologia a drink. Apologia buys me a drink, and I'll buy Prophet of Zod a drink. Okay.
So it'll just kind of like, we'll all end up spending the same amount of money we would have. It'll just go around in a circle. All right. All right. Well, this has been a wonderful time. Thank you so much, Meredith, for getting up this early to come and spend time with us and to do this live stream with us. We both really appreciate it. All the viewers appreciate it. You're wonderful.
I love you. I love you guys so much. I love everybody, especially Bed.
Yeah, okay.
Meredith, you might be the only person in the world who loves me more than they love sleep.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. I like you more than sleep. And if anybody who is watching this is a subscriber to my channel, but not a subscriber to Nervardia or Unholy Sara, you absolutely should. They're wonderful, they're great, they're beautiful, they're amazing, they're gorgeous, they're fabulous, they're smart and intelligent and funny and witty and well researched. I don't know if there's a one word way to say that you do a lot of research. But my point is, go subscribe to them. And yeah, I think that's everything we needed to get out of the way. Everybody want to say their little taglines before we go?
Stay unholy, my friends.
Hang on, let me think. What is it?
What do you